How are you? Oh, hello. Is it too loud? Am I too loud? I am. And you're here. And Rose is here. We're all here. Oh, okay. Aw, Panda, so sweet. How are you guys? Perfect like a phoenix that's been reborn from the ashes. So true. How are you guys doing? You must now have 6 tabs open at the same time. Oh no, Callie, that's so many tabs. Alright. So I'm going to read you guys a poem by Nikki Banas called Miracle. It's a beautiful miracle to be alive in this world. Our chances of being here are nearly 0, but we are here. So live the life you want to live. Dare to chase the impossible and make it become possible. Do the things you've always wanted to do. Be scared and nervous and unsure, and do it anyways. Because why not? Why not go for dreams in this miraculous world? Why not try to leave a lasting mark on the world for generations to come? Why not go for a full life of joy and magic and love? Which do I hang in now? At least you're not on your phone where you can only watch one at a time. Hey, to get enough love and affection. He always does. Alright. So, we have a few stories for tonight, and one of them is called The Elves and the Shoemaker by the Brothers Grimm. You guys might be familiar with it. Yes, the Brothers Grimm. There are 3 stories inside this story. In the first story, a shoemaker, by no fault of his own, had become so poor that at last he had nothing left but leather for 1 pair of shoes. So in the evening he cut out the shoes which he wished to begin to make the next morning. And as he had a good conscience, he lay down quietly in his bed, commended himself to God, and fell asleep. In the morning, after he had said his prayers and was just going to sit down to work, the 2 shoes stood quite finished on his table. He was so astounded and knew not what to say. He took the shoes in his hands to observe them closer, and they were so neatly made that there was not one bad stitch in them. just as if they were intended as a masterpiece. Soon after, a buyer came in, and as the shoes pleased him so well, he paid more for them than what was customary, and, with the money, the shoemaker was able to purchase leather for 2 pairs of shoes. He cut them out at night, and the next morning was about to set work with a fresh courage, but he had no need to do so, for when he got up, they were already made. And the buyers were also not wanting, who gave him the money enough to buy leather for 4 pairs of shoes. The following morning, too, he found the 4 pairs made, and went on constantly. What he had cut out in the evening was finished by morning, so that he soon had his honest independence again, and at last became a wealthy man. Now it befell that one evening, not long after Christmas, when the man had been cutting out, he had said to his wife before going to bed, "What do you think if we were to stay up all night to see who it is that lends us a helping hand?" The woman liked the idea and lighted a candle, and then they hid themselves in the corner of the room behind some clothes which were hanging in there and watched. When it was midnight, 2 pretty little naked men came, sat down by the shoemaker's table, took all the work which was cut out before them, and began to stitch and sew and hammer so skillfully and so quickly with their little fingers that the shoemaker could not turn away his eyes for astonishment. They did not stop until all was done and stood finished on the table, and they ran quickly away. Next morning the woman said, "The little men have made us rich, and we really must show them that we are grateful for it. They run about so and have nothing on, and must be cold. I'll tell thee what I'll do. I will make them little shirts and coats and vests and trousers, and knit both of them a pair of stockings, and do thou, too, make them 2 little pairs of shoes." The man said, "I shall be very glad to do it." And one night, when everything was ready, they laid their presents all together on the table inside the cut-out work, and then they concealed themselves to see how the little men would behave. At midnight they came bounding in and wanted to get to work at once. But as they did not find any leather cut out, but only the pretty little articles of clothing, they were at first astonished, and then showed intense delight. They dressed themselves with the greatest rapidity, put on the pretty clothes, and sang, "Now we are boys so fine to see, why should we longer cobblers be?" Then they danced and skipped and leapt over chairs and benches. At last they danced out of the doors. From that time forth they came but no more. As long as the shoemaker lived, all went well with him, and his undertakings prospered. Hello, Drift, how are you? The second story. There once was a poor servant girl who was industrious and cleanly, and swept the house every day, and emptied her sweepings on the great heap in front of the door. One morning, when she was just going back to her work, she found a letter on this heap, and as she could not read, she put her broom in the corner, and took the letter to her master and mistress, and behold, it was an invitation from the Elves, who asked the girl to hold a child for them at christening. The girl did not know what to do, but at length, after much persuasion, and as they told her that it was not right to refuse an invitation of this kind, she consented. Then the 3 elves came and conducted her to a hollow mountain, where the folks lived. Everything there was small, but more elegant and beautiful than can be. The baby's mother lay in a bed of black ebony, ornamented with pearls. The coverlids were embroidered with gold. The cradle was of ivory, the bath of gold. The girl stood as godmother, and then wanted to go home again, but the little elves urgently entreated her to stay 3 days with them. So she stayed, and passed the time in pleasure and gaiety, and the little folks did all that they could to make her happy. At last she set out on her way home. Then they first filled her pockets quite full of money, and after that they led her out into the mountain again. When she got home, she wanted to begin her work, and took the broom, which was still standing in the corner, in her hand, and began to sweep. Then some strangers came out of the house, who asked her who she was, and what business she had there. and she had not, as she thought, been 3 days with the little men in the mountains, but 7 years, and in the meantime her former masters had died. And here's our third story. A certain mother's child had been taken away out of its cradle by the elves, and a changeling with a large head and staring eyes would do nothing but eat and drink, laid in its place. In her trouble she went to her neighbor and asked her advice. The neighbor said that she was to carry the changeling to the kitchen, set it down on the hearth, light a fire, and boil some water in 2 eggshells, which would make the changeling laugh, and if he laughed, all would be over with him. The woman did everything that her neighbor bade her, but when she put the eggshells with water on the fire, the imp said, "I am as old now as the western forest, but never yet have I seen anyone boil anything in an eggshell," and he began to laugh at it. Whilst he was laughing, suddenly came a host of little elves, who brought the right child, set it down on the hearth, and took the changeling away with them. The end. How are you doing tonight, Drift? This poem is called Existence. The more and more I think of my existence, my heart feels like a pumping machine. Will I ever repair the damage caused by doing all the horrible yet foolish things? Am I the character of a movie I watched yesterday? Or am I the vulnerable, weak, emotional fool I show my feelings to everyone every day? Some call me smug, arrogant, rude guy. My friend reminds me, you are born to fly high. The promise I made to my mom. I will make her proud one day. My father never understood my anxiety. Hope he will calm me someday. And this one is called Wind. When you get up this morning, in the sun, blazed an hour in the sky, a lizard hid under the curled leaves of manzanita and winked its dark lids. Later, the sky grayed, and the cold wind you breathed was moving under your skin and already far from the small hives of your lungs. And I don't know the author for that one. Welcome back, Panda. Oh, you guys can now hug each other in the chat. You can also slap each other. I do not think that you should be slapping each other, but it is there if you get out of hand. Here's a little short story called Canon and D with a Side of Tomato Soup. And I'm glad you love it, Callie. Paul stared at his wife across the table, noticing for the first time that her sweater was on inside out. Every morning he would lay out her clothes on the bed in a specific order so she'd know which item to put on first, but it didn't guarantee how Elaine would put on each piece. He'd have to pay more attention before they went out. Their usual waitress, Sarah, appeared holding a large tray with 2 sweet teas on it. "How y'all doing today?" With Alzheimer's disease, there was good days, and then there were challenging days. It was one of the latter. "Hello, hated." Elaine was preoccupied, scrubbing a stain on the wooden table with her finger, forgetting it was a permanent fixture of their booth. They'd been lunching at this diner once a week for years. That blemish had been there since day one. Today is actually a very special day for us. It's our 57th wedding anniversary. His wife stopped fidgeting and looked up. The day she took a chance on a broke, balding fellow by saying, "I do," he said with a wink in her direction. "It is?" Elaine asked. "Yep, sweetheart, it is. Congratulations, you two. Miss Sue fixed up some of her key lime pie today, and I'll make sure you all have a nice slice of that on the house before you go." "Sticking with the Cobb salad and tomato soup?" "That's it," Paul replied. She nodded and turned, then swung back around. "I just remembered. We ran out of tomato soup about an hour ago. Chicken noodle okay?" Paul looked at his wife, now scrubbing away at the stain with a napkin. "Elaine?" She said, again focused on the table. "They're out of the tomato soup. Do you want chicken noodle or a sandwich instead?" She looked confused, so he pointed to the menu and showed her a few other items he thought she'd enjoy, but she was having a hard time picking something new. Suddenly, she began to cry. "I want to go home. Please, can we go home?" she begged. That's so sad. "Honey, Sarah has already brought us our drinks. Don't you think we should stay a little longer? I know you like tomato soup, but I'm sure their chicken noodle is delicious." Oh my goodness, you guys, be nice. No fighting. That only made her cry harder. Sarah apologized on behalf of the restaurant for running out. Other customers glanced in their direction, wondering what all the commotion was about. He sighed and reached back for his wallet, then placed a $10 bill on the table. "I'm sorry. We'll catch you next week." Sarah gave him an understanding look and told him she'd bring the pie and some to-go cups of tea up to the car. He thanked her as he rose to help his wife out of the booth. He always tried to make their days as hiccup-free as possible, but sometimes there just wasn't any tomato soup. Hated, be nice. Elaine stopped crying on the way home, but appeared anxious and kept asking him what day it was. He hesitated to say the date, conjecturing at least part of her current emotional state was because she hadn't realized it was their anniversary. With her dementia, he didn't think anything of it, but worried she might become upset with herself. "Today is Wednesday." She furrowed her brow, a telltale sign she was struggling to grasp some distant memory or word. When she asked what day it was for the third time during their 20-minute drive, he gave in. "It's Wednesday, January 7th. "That's the day we got married." "Yes, it is," he said, pulling up into the driveway. He helped his wife sit on the living room couch before setting up 2 dinner trays and turning the TV to a rerun of The Price is Right. "I'll be right back to join you," he reassured her. Once in the kitchen, he walked past the cabinets labeled bowls and plates, mugs and glasses, and cereal to find the one with soup written on it. He'd marked them all to help her stay as independent as possible, especially since she loved to cook. In the past few months, however, he'd taken over the role as primary chef. Relief swept over him when he found some tomato soup in the back right corner of the cabinet. Conscious of his stiff, arthritic hands, he carefully lowered 2 bowls and filled them with the liquid contents before putting Elaine's dish in the microwave. As he stood there watching the timer count down, the sound of Paco Bell floated through in the kitchen. His wife had been a music teacher, so they'd always had a piano in the living room. She hadn't played much lately, though. He suspected it was because she now had difficulty sight reading the music. Walking back into the room, he found Elaine bent over the piano playing Canon in D from Muscle Memory. He was struck at how her fingers, still so capable and sure, glided over the keys. An image of her coming down the aisle towards him in a stunning white dress filled his head, those same lovely hands holding a bouquet of the yellow daisies he'd gathered for her from his garden. It had been a simple wedding, but that's what they'd wanted. He waited until they finished before taking a seat beside her on the bench. Bringing the back of her hand to his mouth, he planted a kiss as she beamed the same beautiful grin she had on their wedding day. "My favorite song," he whispered, choking up. She gave his hand a gentle squeeze. "That's why I played it for you." Now it was his turn to cry. "I love you, Paul." "I can see that," he nodded. "I love you so much. Now would you like to share some tomato soup with me?" Her face fell a little. "I was hoping for chicken noodle, but that'll do." How cute, you guys. Okay. So this is called The Farmhand and the Flower by Alex W. In a dark patch of forest far, far away, there grows a flower. But this is no ordinary flower. It's been said that few who roam the wood will ever find it, but to those lucky few who spot its petals through peeking at the surrounding foliage, a power awaits them. For you see, if this flower is given a gift, it is said that you can cast a spell of any love so strong it can never be broken. A young farmhand one day, while collecting wood for the furnace, stumbled across this fabled blossom. What fortune, he thought. Many given this gift would woo a monarch, or marry the pope, or otherwise use this precious flower for heinous means. But the farmhand had only one interest for this flower. It was a young peasant girl. She was a fair young lady, neither extravagant nor plain, and yet to the farmhand she was the queen of this land. Sounds good, Rose. He approached the young peasant girl, gripping the flower so tightly that its thorns dug deep into the flesh of his palms. His eyes met hers, and in that gaze the farmhand knew that there were no other eyes he'd rather look into. He handed the young peasant girl the flower and watched how her eyes turned from indifference to adoration. Things were simple after that. The couple soon found themselves together for years, their love stronger than the fine metals that forged thief wedding bands, and yet the farmhand noticed a change in the peasant girl. Her smile, which once gleamed with radiant joy at the sight of him, had turned into a wistful look out a nearby window. Her laugh, which had previously echoed with mirth, now was only sighs and glances to the floor beneath her feet. The farmhand was confused. Had the spell not worked? Had it worn off? He approached his wife and asked what had changed. Where before she was content, and now there's resentment. Where once was intimacy, now there was only distance. She spoke. "From the day you handed me that gorgeous flower, I had loved you earnestly. I do, I always will, but in my dreams I wonder what could have been. The life I could have led if I had chosen another path. and there are moments when I feel as though my life is a cage and I yearn to break free of my entrapment. My love for you will never fade, but my heart breaks with yearning. The farmhand stood aghast, tears welling in his periphery. He knew what had to be done. Post-haste, he searched his home of the magical trinket that helped him years before. He found it locked in a small teak box. In the box lay the flower and a picture from the farmhand's wedding. He turned the back of the photograph and read the words his wife had written, "Forever." The farmhand held his tears. He took the flower from the small teak box and walked to the furnace. He threw the bloom into the flames, and a puff of violet smoke, it had vanished. The farmhand walked out to the young peasant girl. There was a silence between the two, an exchanging of glances, another silence. And then the silence was broken. "It's okay," the farmhand said. The peasant girl began to cry as she looked into the eyes of the man she once loved so fervently. They embraced as the tears fell from their faces, and they said their goodbyes. Perhaps they would be temporary, maybe permanent. Like any goodbye, it could be the last one they said to another. Time will tell. The farmhand waved softly goodbye as the peasant girl rode away. She had an adventure ahead of her. The farmhand waited until his former love was only a spot in the horizon. He turned away and began walking. He went into the forest, deep into the brush, deeper and deeper into the deep foliage where surrounding foliage engulfs whatever dares grow. The man saw a stump in the dark underbrush and sat to catch his breath. He soon found himself becoming very tired and decided to set up camp and follow the trail home in the morning. He had barely finished setting up camp when he felt his eyes began to become heavy and his lungs fill with air as he yawned. He laid his head down on the soft earth and soon fell into a deep sleep. The farmhand never returned home. Many of the townsfolk assumed he left grief-stricken, but with no clue as to where his whereabouts, the townsfolk forgot about the farmhand, until one day a young boy from the town went playing in the wood nearby. He tripped and tumbled down a hill in the dark, overgrown part of the forest. After shaking off his landing, he lifted his eyes and saw a small stump on the ground. But adorning the stump was a bed of the most beautiful flowers the boy had ever seen. The end. Welcome back, Rose. You're welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. How are you? Okay, so this poem is called A Time to Talk, and I do not know who the author is. When a friend calls to me from the road and slows his horse to a meaning walk, I don't stand still and look around on all the hills I haven't hoed and shout from where I am, "What is it?" No, not as there is time to talk. I thrust my hoe in the mellow ground, blade end up and 5 feet tall, and plod I go up to the stone wall for a friendly visit. You're doing good. We are all doing pretty good, thank you. Hated, I have no idea where you're finding these stickers, these emotes. I mean, I kind of do the same thing, Kelly. No shame, you know? Let me see here. Okay. Life wasn't something we were supposed to be good at. It's something we're supposed to live through. I am just finding this out. R.M. Broderick. It's the mama trait. I'm the mother in my group of friends, so you're used to being like, yep, everyone's good. I feel that. I do, yes. I am Mama Cha-Cha. Alright, so this is a poem by Rebecca Puig. Remember when you go into the world to keep your eyes and ears wide open. And be kind, love one another, take care of each other, tell the truth. Always do your best. Listen to the big people and the little people. Explore new paths and have fun. Know that you are loved like crazy. Give thanks for all your blessings. Above else, love, and you will do wonderful things in this world. I will do that. You're fighting your sleep urges. It's okay if you fall asleep. So there's just initials on these ones, EH. They say that happiness will find you, but I think sadness finds you too. It sneaks up on you in darkness, just when you think you've made it through. It opens holes in what was solid ground, the kind you never know are there. It opens holes until you go to take another step, and you find you're standing over air. The world around you passes by, in blurs of color and sound. Nothing around you makes sense as you continue your plummet down. You can't remember how it started, and you don't know when it will end, but you know that you'd given anything to stand up on your feet again. Sadness is that feeling when the falling doesn't stop, and it saps your life of meaning and all the good things that you've got. So when you finally hit rock bottom and you look back up at the sky, what you once had seems so far away, the only thing left to do is cry. People all yell out, save yourself, calling things about happiness and hope, but they're too busy with their lives to realize it'd be a lot quicker if they just let down a rope. It is, and that's why I picked it. And this is why it's so important to have each other. And that's why we're all here for each other. What? I have no idea. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, but just know that you can change it back. Nope. No clue. Alright, guys. I honestly just, I don't know what it is. He has the option to change it back if he would like. What would you guys like to hear? Would you like another story? Some more poems? You want Cha-Cha's voice in your ears? Oh, you redeemed bunny crunchies. Okay, let me go grab Cloud real quick, and I will be right back for you. Okay guys, I have Cloud here. So I hope you guys are ready for some bunny crunchies before she eats the cord on my microphone. Alright guys, she ate 3 of her cookies for you. With the poems and stuff, I pull random things and I don't keep those tabs opened, but I can probably go back and find it for you if you would like it. Was it the one about talking about sadness and depression? Is that the one you were referring to? Okay, yeah, I can post the link. It has a bunch of other ones in there though, so you're gonna have to search for this one, but there were just initials for the name, which were EH. But I will send you the link. Actually, it looks like it will work if you... Yep, that worked. There you go. Also, I'm sorry if it got really loud. The bunny decided she was going to boop the microphone a couple times. You're welcome. Alright, I have one more story for you guys called The Great Feast by Laura E. Richards. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and you're very welcome. You guys can redeem those bunny ASMR and kitty purrs during the day streams as well. They are not limited to this stream. So if you guys ever need to pick me up in the middle of the day, she is always here. She's just in the next room. All I have to do is go grab her. I have tons of cookies and carrots, stuff like that, things she likes. Alright, so anyways, the story, The Great Feast by Laura E. Richards. Once the play angel came into a nursery where 4 little children sat on the floor with sad and troubled faces. "What is the matter, dears?" asked the play angel. "We wanted to have a grand feast," said the children whose nursery it was. "Yes, that would be delightful," said the play angel. "But there is only 1 cookie," said the child whose nursery it was. "And it is a very small cookie," said the child who was a cousin and therefore felt a right to speak. "Not big enough for myself," said the child whose nursery it was. The other children had nothing to say because they were not relations, but they looked at the cookie with large eyes, and their mouths went up to the middle and down at the sides. "Well," said the play angel, "suppose we have a feast just the same. I think we can manage it." She broke the cookie into 4 pieces and gave 1 piece to the littlest child. "See," she said, "this is a roast chicken, a brown bantam. It is just as brown and crispy as it can be, and there is cranberry sauce on one side, and on the other a little mountain of mashed potatoes. It must be a volcano. It smokes so, do you see?" "Yes," said the littlest one, and his mouth went down to the middle and up at the corners. The play angel gave a piece to the next child. "Here," she said, "it's a little pie. Outside, as you see, it is brown and crusty, with a wreath of pastry leaves around the edge, and 4 you in the middle. But inside it is all chicken and ham and jelly and hard-boiled eggs. Did you ever see such a pie?" "Never I did," said the child. "Now here," said the angel to the 3rd child. "It's a round cake. Look at it. The frosting is half an inch thick, with candied rose leaves and angelica laid on its true lover's knots. And inside there are chopped up almonds and raisins with a slice of citron. It is the prettiest cake I ever saw, and the best." "So it is," said the 3rd child. Then the angel gave the last piece to the child whose nursery it was. My dear, she said, just look, here is an ice cream rabbit. He is snow white on the outside, with eyes of red barley sugar. See his ears and his little snubby tail? But inside, I think you will find him pink. Now when I clap my hands and count 1, 2, 3, you must eat the feast all up. 1, 2, 3. So the children ate the feast all up. There, said the angel, did you ever see such a grand feast? No, never we did, said all 4 children together. And there are some crumbs left over, said the angel. Come, and we will give them to the brother birds. But you didn't have any, said the child whose nursery it was. Oh yes, said the angel, I had it all. The end. Oh, thank you for gifting a sub to our new follower, Hated. Super sweet. That was super sweet. Here's a poem by Sarah Teasdale. There will come soft rains. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind neither bird nor tree if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that they were gone. Oh, Hated, thank you for gifting another sub. He is just on a roll tonight. Oh my goodness, what is that? Dad bod, you just want us to call you Sugar Daddy Hated? Is that what it is? Hated gifted you a sub. So now you can get all the bunny crunchies and the Cha-Cha ASMR, and I play cute little games during the day. Splendid Daddy, is that what you want us to call you? You can call him Splendid Daddy. No, not that. Don't call him that. Hated, no. You can call him Splendid Daddy, but do not call him that second one. Alright. Winter in the Boulevard by D.H. Lawrence. The frost has settled down upon the trees and ruthlessly strangled off the fantasies of leaves that had gone unnoticed, swept like old romantic stories, now no more to be told. The trees down the boulevard stand naked in thought, their abundant summery wordage silence caught in the grim undertow. Naked the trees confront, implacable winter's long cross-questioning brunt. Has some hand balanced more leaves in the depths of the twigs, some dim little efforts placed on the threads of the birch? It is only the sparrows, like dead black leaves on the sprigs, sitting huddled against the cerulean, one flesh with their perch. The clear, cold sky coldly bethinks itself. Like vivid thought, the air spins bright, and all, trees, birds, and earth arrested in the afterthought, awaiting the sentence out from the welkin brought. I think that was his name at one point in the Discord server, so that's kind of funny. Do you guys have anything you would like to hear in the next 5 minutes or so? That's a little bit frightening, I can imagine. You're sitting here all calm and relaxed and somebody goes shouting. I think you'll be okay. So I'm gonna read you a pumpkin story. It says, took the first premiere at the county fair. It was 50 cents, but you see the farmer had to pay $2 to get a chance to try for the premium at the fair, and so it was some satisfaction. Anyway, he took the premium, and he tried to sell the pumpkin, and when he couldn't, he brought it home and told his wife that they must have it for Thanksgiving. The boy had gathered the bad little pumpkin and kept it from being fed to the cow. It was so funny looking, and the day before Thanksgiving, the farmer found it in the barn, and he said, "Hello, there is a little pumpkin fool. Wonder if this sings the morning glory yet?" And the boy said, "Oh, father, may I have it?" And the father said, "Guess so. What are you going to do with it?" But the boy didn't tell, because he was going to try and keep it for a surprise. But as soon as his father went out of the barn, he picked up the bad little pumpkin by its long neck, and he kind of balanced it before him. And he said, "Well now, I'm going to make a pumpkin glory out of you." I'm so sorry that my voice kind of like went hoarse there for a minute. Hydrate, thank you. I'm actually sick, so I'll drink the water, but I don't think it's going to do much there. And I will posture check, thank you. It's okay. That's why I took a week off, but it's still like hit or miss. It comes and goes. But anyways, our hour is just about up here. I hope you guys enjoyed the poems and the stories. And I will actually not be on tomorrow streaming because it is Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys all enjoy your days tomorrow. If you're celebrating, if not, I still hope you enjoy your day. And I am sure I will see you guys in the Discord. It is Where are you from, Kelly? Canada. Oh, okay. That makes sense then. Alright. Well, anyways, thank you again, Hated, for gifting subscriptions. I hope you guys had a wonderful night. And I just want to remind you guys that you are all worthy, you are all loved, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I hope you have an excellent night. Goodbye.